Hi, this is Papa Juve. Welcome to my podcast. Thank you for stopping by. Today's topic is we're going to talk about perceptions. So we're going to start with a little story here of this guy actually whose car tumbled into a ditch in Ohio. And he called on a farmer for some help, but the farmer said to the man, listen, you need a team of stallion to pull this car up. I only have a horse, and his name is Dusty. He's blind and all. But we'll bring him over to the ditch and see what he can do, but don't expect much. So the farmer hitched Dusty to the car and snapped a whip in the air and said, pull, Jimmy, pull. Dusty never moved. The farmer snapped the whip again and said, pull, Sammy, pull. Dusty still didn't move. He snapped the whip the third time and said, pull, Charlie, pull. Dusty still remained still. The farmer snapped the whip the fourth time and said, pull, Dusty, pull. With one mighty tug, Dusty yanked the car out of the ditch. The driver was surprised. He was grateful also. He shook the farmer's hand and said to him, thank you for freeing my car, but there's something I don't understand. Dusty never moved when you kept calling him by those names. Why didn't you call him by his name from the start? The farmer replied, had to call out those names first. Dusty's blind. If he thought he had to do all the work by himself, he never would have even tried. Perceptions. I was like, man, asking myself, how many times have you perceived something, a dream of yours, something that you said to yourself, this is out of my league, I cannot do this. How many times that happened to you? You know, I remember when I first came to this country in 1999, I had a huge problem. I could not speak the language. I could not even put two English words together. I was dropped off at my brother's house in Delaware. And, you know, I came from a French-spoken country, you know, in Senegal, Africa. And, you know, my brother, you know, I remember my brother told me that, listen, man, you know, there's a library over there. And then, you know, if you want, you can go ahead there, head over there and watch some movies, you know. They got a lot of good movies over there. So luckily that day, you know, I picked this TV and at the library, and I was watching the movies from. And then what happened was that TV happened to have the closed caption on. Back then, I didn't know what closed caption was. So I was just when I watched the movie, I noticed that whatever they were saying, it was, you know, it was reading on the screen. So I was like, okay. So that's how I learned English. That's how I learned the language. I learned how to pronounce them. I know the meaning of them. Man, I was watching 2-3 movies a day. But at first, when I first came in the country, and I hear people speak so fast, I said, man, there's no way I can speak like them. I was like, man, this was out of my league. But now, I'm speaking the same way. You barely notice my French accent. Now, from not even able to put two English words together to write a book, in 2016, my number one goal was to write a book, to share my personal experience in this country. At first, I was like, man, I'm just going to go ahead and just try to write a little booklet, like a few pages, and be done with it. Because, I read a lot. I have over like close to like 800-900 books. And one day I came across this book by Zig Ziglar, See You at the Top. And Zig Ziglar said, hey, listen, man, you want to write a 365-page book? Just write one page a day. And by the end of the year, you'll have your book. I said, isn't that amazing? So you see how easy it is when you break the goal down to manageable steps. At that point, that was super easy. I wrote over 900 pages already. I've been writing for the last 2 years. There's something I perceived in the beginning that, oh man, 400-500 books, I cannot write 500-page books. It was out of my league. But now the book is set to come out June 1st, 2019. Perceptions. Don't let yours limit you. I took interest in public speaking. Right? I joined Toastmaster. And it was like a couple years ago, I believe, right? I joined Toastmaster. Toastmaster, I don't know if you guys know Toastmaster. Toastmaster is an organization that helps you to speak in public. They're all over the United States, all over the places. And what it is that they have like groups, like, it depends, 20, 30, 40 people, it depends. And all you have to do is just get invited to a group, close to your house, and then you can join in, and then you take the classes. So what happened was that I got invited to a group in Manhattan. I wish I'm still a member of that group. And I was the only guest that day. So I still remember that day, man. And Toastmaster, they have something they call a table topic. Table topic is something that they actually it's only designed for the guests. What they do is that they call you in the podium and ask you a couple of questions, and then you answer the questions. I mean, there's something that help you think on your feet, but you're gonna have to answer those questions in front of everybody. So that day they called me out. Oh, Papa Joe, wants you to come over to the podium. So I came over. When they even mentioned my name, I started sweating. It was the first time I really stand up in front of people talking. And they called me in, and I came over there, and then they asked me this question. I don't even remember what the question was, really. What did I answer? I don't remember nothing. But I do remember something. I do remember that I did not know that day that a human being can sweat that fast. Man, I was sweating so much it was unbelievable. And the room was cool. It wasn't hot. It was cool. Man, I was sweating so much that it looked like I just ran 100 miles. Man, it was brutal for me that day. It was so brutal. And what happened was that, I gave, from that point right there, I gave like 10 speeches. 10 speeches in the following few months. I got a certification from it. I was the best speaker in the group. And I represented the group in the competition for the world best speaker. You see, from not knowing the English language, from not being able to put 2 words of English together, to write a book, to compete for the world best speaker, man, I was looking at myself. I said, man, you can do anything. Perceptions. Don't let yours limit you. Dr. King had this quote, and he said, "Take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step." Mark Twain said, "The secret of getting ahead is getting started. And the best time to start is now. The time is always right." Thank you. Appreciate it.